our speaker tonight needs very little in the way of introduction because you've already seen his introduction. I would simply repeat, of course, he's the president and founder of the Middle East Media Research Institute. May I ask how many of you are familiar with MEMRI? Well, I can even be briefer. So you know what MEMRI does and does so valuably for all the countries in the West and elsewhere. In Yigal's background, he was a colonel in the Israeli Defense Force Intelligence Corps, counterterrorism advisor to two Israeli prime ministers, overseeing the national deployment against terrorism. As you know, since you are familiar with MEMRI, it provides timely translations in Arabic, Farsi, Urdu-Pashtu, Dari, Turkish media, as well as others, and of course also has a significant Russian translation service. I should also point out that the MEMRI is active in Arab Islamic Muslim reformers and in circulating their thought. I also want to make sure that I acknowledge the presence of Ambassador Alberto Fernandez, who is the Vice President of MEMRI. Glad Alberto is here tonight. Now, I'm going to keep this short. I'm just going to offer you a little analogy. This is the first complete, unexpurgated edition of Mein Kampf in English. Now, it's very interesting to look at the date of this publication, New York, 1941. Now, when one thinks back, wouldn't it have been nice for people in the United States who didn't read German to be able to know what Adolf Hitler thought and said he would do back in 1925-27, or at least by 1933 when he became chancellor? Not in 1941 when it was getting a little late in the game. I only offer that as an analogy to MEMRI, because we have no excuse today, thanks to the invaluable work that Yigal Carmon, Alberto Fernandez, and their colleagues do. There's no excuse for not knowing, and we can't say, well, it's because we don't know Arabic, we don't know Farsi, we don't know Pashto, Urdu, because it's all translated, it's all up there. If we're being told one thing in English, and yet they say something else when they're speaking Arabic, we now know because of the valuable, invaluable work that MEMRI does. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Yigal Carmon, who's going to talk to us about how the internet created the jihadi movement. Thank you.
It's an opportunity to talk a little bit about about Bob, a friend, in fact, family. For those who don't know, Jews and Catholics are family. Bob is, for me, for many years, a source of inspiration, someone who naturally, without hesitation, chooses to struggle with the deepest and most problematic aspects of interreligious relations. In natural courage, he says the truth without blurring, without smoothing, the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, without unnecessary offense, but also without unjustified respect. He is a model of inspiration, of intellectual conduct, and that leads to unique insights. And I want to thank you on this occasion, Bob, for your friendship and for your work.
Thank you, Yigal.
I want to,
Stop now or I'll change the title of your lecture.
I want to refer to Mein Kampf with the story by Bernard Lewis that a few months before the Iranian Revolution, he read the book of Ayatollah Khomeini, and he gave it to the government, and the CIA at the time said, we don't know what this is. It's some nonsense, some nothing, some old guy wrote a book in Paris. It's nothing to, we don't even know about it, actually. It was a few months later that it became most important document that is haunting us to this very day. Today I will speak about the internet and the jihadi world, which has become our world. I want to begin this presentation with paraphrasing the words of Winston Churchill about the RAF pilots in World War II. Never have so many owed so much to so few. And in fact, this could be reversed with regard to the internet companies and the social media. Never have so few caused so much damage to so many. The internet, like other inventions of the modern time, like energy, or particularly nuclear energy, like transportations, like medicine, food, include in it the good and the bad, the blessing and the curse, development and regression, building and destruction. I could go on and on. Without restraint, it can bring a catastrophe. And this is what it is doing actually right now. In my coming words, I will present to you what is in the internet in areas that relate to our work: jihad, anti-Semitism, Holocaust denial, incitement to genocide, not necessarily of particular, of many minority groups. But in fact, it is just the tip of the iceberg, and so much exists in areas that I'm not dealing with, maybe you don't, but in almost every area of life, this happens. We know the blessing of it, the blessing of free, accessible information, total human connection through this tool, but we are not aware enough of the destruction that it causes. Before I present things, I want to tell you that the team in MEMRI that deals with the jihadi material, day in, day out, all the time, watching this material online, needs and gets psychological help. And the truth is, I don't know how far we can go with it. I bought one copy. It's all on the site. I guess you didn't see. This is 257 pages, both sides, many pictures in every one of them. Beheading, crucifixions, stoning, burning, drowning, throwing from high places, amputating, everything. This is what is today on Twitter, also on Facebook, on Instagram, on all of them, just all of them. This is what inspires some. This is what opens the eyes of people to options in their lives. If they feel the need, if they are bitter, if they are vengeful, if they see that this can happen. Every single picture has inciting verses or words of those who put it. Just one example we will talk about more. All the world of jihad today is on the internet. One cannot imagine the development of the global jihadi movement without the internet and the social media, and it's growing. Before I will show also in video what you can see, I would like to give some general characteristics. First of all, the amount. The amount is huge. We are talking here, all in all, if we take every post as an item, then we are talking about hundreds of millions. It's all around those who are involved and those who are close to this world. They live in it. The spread is huge. It breaks all boundaries, all barriers. We think that there are places close to it. No, there are ways to reach to this material even where it is closed. There are tools, there are ways. This material bypasses every human order that has been established over the years, over centuries, over millennia. Moral boundaries, legal boundaries. I will give examples. In the internet, you are allowed to hate. We talked about hate crimes in the past. No hate crimes on internet. You hate. People are talking like this. Anna's quoting for me, not from the Arab world, from Italy. A guy on the internet, it's all on the internet radio. I want to hate. I have the freedom to hate. I should have the freedom to hate. I heard that there was already in a paper, respectable paper in Sweden, an op-ed saying it is allowed to hate certain group, doesn't matter. It's allowed to incite to murder. Just a few years ago, I mean a decade or more, in Rwanda, those who incited for murder, the radio that incited, were indicted and went to jail. But the internet opens it all. You can do it. It's free. This is freedom of speech. You can incite to murder. That's legitimate. That's accepted. That's breaking every rule. Funny thing, not from the world of jihad, but it gives an example. There are people in France, for example, there is this ally of Iran, Dieudonné, who is in jail. The government took actions against him, and he is in jail for what he published. But his material is out on the internet. And David Irving, for example, that Holocaust denier, he gives an interview to The Guardian and says, the internet is the greatest thing that happened to me. I get questions, requests. People want to know about the Holocaust. They want to learn, and I tell them. And he was also in jail for a period, but his material is on the internet. The court orders that take measures against him are not, the internet is not bound by them. That's a free entity. They do what they want. The courts, what courts? They have nothing to do with the courts. They do what they believe is freedom. The internet creates a virtual reality that is actually disconnected from the real world, but impacts the real world in a way that it becomes a reality. That is specifically when we talk about the development of the global jihadi movement. They created a virtual world and they implemented it with their force, inspired by what they had from the internet. And this is, in my mind, a prescription for a colossal disaster. Causing elements of society to clash with each other, also nations. It is a development that if democracies will not find the way to draw the line between this unlimited freedom, which actually amounts to anarchy, I would compare it to total freedom in other things, in nuclear energy, in transportation, in the production of medicine, in anything, then we are heading towards something very bad. You would rightly say, okay, so there is regulation in this world. Many fields of life are regulated. Maybe this is the solution. And our experience at MEMRI, because we didn't only report about it, we also tried to fight this situation. Our experience is that as far as governments in the West, they don't want to take any action in this respect. It's maybe it's a result of many things. You understand it yourself. I will just give you some facts about it. But we began 10 years ago with drawing the attention of government and of legislators, in fact, to the fact that while the US Army was fighting in Iraq, internet companies in America hosted Al-Qaeda websites. It so happened at the time that we did it in a bipartisan event on Capitol Hill with a relatively not so known congressman on the Republican side, Mike Pence, and on the Democrat side, Gary Ackerman from New York. And we showed a list of 52 hosting companies that host Al-Qaeda websites. And Gary Ackerman, Democrat liberal from New York, but a gentleman with eyes with a mind, he came out and said to journalists, these are supporters of terrorism. They're internet companies. And of course, then Congressman Mike Pence did the same. Within 2 weeks, 38 of the 52 were removed. At the time, it was not social media, it was just websites. And the others, either they didn't hear about it or what, the government had nothing to do with it. The government never moved a finger to tell companies, these are websites of Al-Qaeda, you should decide what to do with it. You are hosting them, but consider what you're doing. I'll later talk about the internet companies and the social media in a moment. But before that, we volunteered at some point, since the government is not doing, the Homeland Security is not doing, we volunteered to tell companies within 7 days of business days for free, not for any money, to tell them who are their customers. we went after the law that exists in America that was initiated after terrorist experiences, which is relating to banks. It's called Know Your Customer. And every bank has to, by law, has to report to FinCenter, the financial center at the Treasury, which is the intelligence center there, who are their major customers. They can still do with the transaction whatever they want, but they have to know who is it, they have to consult the government. And so we said, fine, we offer ourselves, we will tell you, tell us what material, what are you hosting, we will tell you who is it, who is behind it, what is written there, if you even know what's written there. We will tell you, and then you do what you want. No one responded. Then we created what we called naively the wiping committee. It was our own jargon. We created a body of like 23 high-level people, some from the legislature, some from known people, journalists, even Elie Wiesel, writers, authors, people of weight, and they wrote letters. We wrote the letters, we send them, but in their names, because we cannot do it as a research institute, a 501c3, we couldn't do it ourselves. In their name, we did the work to approach internet companies and to tell them, gentlemen, you are hosting Al-Qaeda, you are hosting this, you're hosting that, you may want to consider. The gentleman wrote it to them. Nothing, no response. This is already the part of, not the government, the part of the internet companies. And then came the social media, and we will talk about them. There was a battle a battle developed between gradually between the social media and very few organs. We were leading it basically about what they are, what they allow to appear on their platforms. We managed to find some legislators, congressmen, senators, who were willing to write to them letters which sounded like a threat that maybe we will have to do some legislation. Very weak, very sensitive, not to really scare, because what are we going to have here, censorship, God forbid? But in view of the horrible stuff that they are carrying, to hint that this option is also open. Every time we did, we had several letters by congressmen. Every time we did that, they took measures. They developed lobbies in Washington to protect them, not to remove anything. Lobbies to protect them with former legislators, with figures, with this, with that. They did not think that they have to do something or that they should do something. Clearly, it will impact their revenues. If they limit it in some way, there will be an impact. If they want to develop tools by which they will identify specific materials that are insightful, this is a very heavy task. This is something that will cost them huge amounts of money. This tool has not been developed yet. Today they talk about the fact that they do something. I will tell you what they are doing, which is a tragic joke. They are investing something, but nothing that really has an answer to the problem. The internet is full of this material, and they claim that they are doing what they are doing. First of all, they developed a logic that is really funny. They say, like if we take any car producer or food producer or anything that might be dangerous to people, they develop a quality control department. If it's a yogurt company, they will have there many chemists and many PhDs and others and equipment, and they will show you how much efforts they invest in making sure that their yogurt doesn't have any carcinogenic elements and so on. And they see it as their responsibility. When Volkswagen had a problem with the part of their cars, they spent $1.4 billion euro to fix it. This happened just a year ago or so. And they saw it as their responsibility to do it. Not so with the social media. They say, you know, gentlemen, you are the users, tell us. They throw it upon the people. We provide you with buttons to flag it. You tell us, and we will take care of it. Not our responsibility. You tell us. If I compare it to the yogurt company, I say like a yogurt company that will tell you, this is what they tell you, our material is clean, is healthy, is fine. If you get cancer, flag it. We will take care of it. You will. No, of course they cannot take care of it because they don't have the tools for that. They talk about having committees, because once you flag it, it's not the end of the story. You flag it, okay, so what are they going to go by your, they know who you are and what your private citizen flags a video that he doesn't like. Why should they remove it? They have committees. Now, let me tell you about the biggest secret in America. Is it the location of ballistic missiles? No. The biggest secret in America is the identity and the qualifications of those presumed committees that check your flagging. Who are they? Do they know Arabic? Where did they study? What degrees do they have? If I am to compare them to the yogurt companies, they have PhDs in chemistry. What do they have, the company? Yeah, you don't know anything about those committees, just nothing. It's a secret. Unlike the quality control departments in all industries that are open for the government, for the people to see how good they are, how careful, what material. I challenge you, ladies and gentlemen, to try and reach out to any of the internet companies who talk in the name of freedom of speech and freedom of information. It's climbing on a glass wall with your nails. You can't have no address, no name, no nothing, no one. And sometimes you have a public relations, but they lead nowhere. This is an incredible situation. You cannot reach to them. You cannot reach out to them. They have no address. You are invited to try and reach out. And once we had a donor who had a friend whose son was in charge of engineering in Google, engineering, and electronic engineering. And he approached him with this complaint. And the father of this young guy was furious. He said, "You are causing my son to be fired. You know that he works in Google. What's your business to tell anybody about this?" These are the people who talk in the name of freedom of speech. Indeed, for your next meeting, please report to Bob, whoever managed to get to a department. I'll tell you a story. Once, you know, we do, those who know MEMRI, we do translations of videos, of video clips, Arabic, Farsi, and the subtitles in English. So one day we were invited by Google to Sunnyvale. I went there. They wanted our help to, since they want to develop their automatic translation machine. So they wanted to use the material that we have. And I went there, and a nice guy heading that department of Chinese origin, and we discussed it, and then it says, okay, so we want to take it. How much would you charge? We have huge archives, and it's basically word for word, so it can really help them. I said, no charge, you get it for free, all the material. I just want one thing in return. I need some addresses, some names, some telephones. When we need, because sometimes we need because they take us down. There are problems we have as a... That's a problem. He went for 10 minutes and came back. He went to the other room to talk on the phone, came back, and he said, no names, just set your price. What do you need? I said, in that case, nothing. We don't authorize you to use it, and goodbye. This is a crazy situation. This is incredible. This is happening in America today, and those companies are talking in the name of, they were asked after everyone realized that in every case of terrorism in America and other places, the perpetrators were inspired by the internet, every single case. So pressure began to some extent, and they seemed to agree to do a few things. So in the UK, in England, there were questions in the parliament, not by the government, but the parliament. And they said, of course, we have committees and we erase material. And indeed, they do erase, but it's just nothing to compare to what remains. What the mechanism is such that it's just nothing that what they do. So so the gentleman there was asked, so if you erase, how much, how many posts did you erase this year? This was before the pressure was bigger on them, and he couldn't give a number. And they really slammed him and insulted him, and the meeting was stopped, and he had to leave. In France, the French authorities invented something which they stopped after 1 week, to do it through a judge. A judge will decide, not the government will decide what is inflammatory, what is dangerous, what is unacceptable material. It will be a judge. Even if you have several judges, we are talking about hundreds of millions of posts. What can a judge do? They stopped it. The solution is only to develop tools that will allow, and this is very costly. In Facebook, they invented something called trusted user, and the trusted user are organizations or elements, people whose judgment about any post is accepted because they are trusted for certain valid reasons. Okay, how much does this cover? Not much, not enough. The internet develops all the time, gives more and more options, widens the world of jihadi virtual reality and actual reality. So this is no answer at all. The criminal side of it, yes, we at MEMRI tried with them when they said we did several times testing. We flagged 100 sites of the worst material, and we wanted to see what will they remove. Nothing. You can find it in MEMRI's publication under testing YouTube, testing Twitter, testing Facebook, nothing. They have guidelines. This is their answer. We have guidelines of the community, but they don't implement it. It's like any deceit in commercial life. They tell you, we are fine, our material, our clothing, all is healthy, is good, our food, everything is good. Guidelines, standards, and terms of service. If they had implemented that, which they sell to people, that this is what we do, there would be no problem. But they don't implement it, they cannot implement it. It's costly, it's hugely costly to develop tools that will give you, will bring you like an arrow to that which is dangerous, which is insightful, which is hateful, which is impacting people to murder, which develop according to those guidelines. None of these should be. They say we do not allow pictures of violence on the internet. Pictures of violence on the internet? It's all pictures as far as the jihadi material. It's all that. What is it that you do not allow? It's written in the guidelines, but it's not implemented. I want to show you some videos that inspire people to commit acts of terrorism. To begin with, it may be a little long, but it's worth your while to see once in your life a speech by the head of ISIS, Baghdadi. And then there is a whole group of jihadis from the West talking to the West, telling them what they deserve to be, how they deserve to be treated, and what they will do. And all this is to inspire and to have people do it. This is their call to people. Do it, do it, do it, do it. After we will see this video, we will talk about what could be done. This is 0.90.1 of what is there on the internet. And the question is indeed how to overcome it. I want to tell you about something that had nothing to do with Islam. Years ago, there was a case in San Diego. It's called, for those who can go to the internet and find it. It was a case of a animal rights extremist who published addresses of laboratories that do experiments in animals. He was called Coronado against the state of California. He was, and he also published instructions how to produce explosives and called to bomb these laboratories. And for some strange reasons, maybe because San Diego is so far away from Washington, they didn't hear about the freedom of speech or what, or First Amendment. Strange. Anyway, he was arrested, indicted, and was sentenced to 5 years. And he appealed to the district court on the basis of his First Amendment rights violated. And the court sent him back to jail and told him, your case has nothing to do with First Amendment and with freedom of speech. So, in fact, there is, at least if we are, he'd never appealed to this higher authority, legal authority. It seems like the way is there that the inhibition is totally within the government to take action. Because I used to tell many people in the government, why don't you take this question to the Supreme Court? Somehow, you don't want to decide about limiting freedom of speech. It's understandable. There is a Supreme Court in America. He has issued already several times. Many years ago, it was established that you cannot, that crying fire in a crowded theater is a criminal offense. Today is a new world. There is the world of internet. They should decide if there are any limits to freedom of speech, and or there aren't. And these are the people who should decide for all of us, right? So bring it to them. The government didn't do that either. It was let floating like in a total indecision, and no one actually did anything. The companies went on with their revenues, pretending to do things while they don't implement their own guidelines, deceiving everybody about what they do while they don't do, creating lobbies to protect them instead of investing in tools and algorithms to curb down this material. And this is where we are heading. So I have faced many people that I respect immensely with this message, and I heard the opinion that legally things should remain as they are, no, whatever the price is. Bach, for example, and others. This is our culture, this is our democracy, this is our nation. And I would say at this point, okay, legally it should stand like that. But what prohibits a moral action? Yes, you are allowed to keep it like that, but there are also moral considerations. By law, you can do it. Okay, you don't have to, this is the law for now, or whatever. First Amendment prevails, but it's not imposed on you. You can apply moral considerations and decide, especially companies, private companies, that you do not allow it. You are free not to carry anything that you don't want to as a private company. You can apply moral consideration, not legal one, and not allow such material on the internet.